The opener for a Guns N' Roses show should feel kinetic, it should feel rock and roll, and it should feel like it brings the band on to a screaming crowd. Hi, I'm Dan Potter, Creative Director and Co-founder of Creative Works. We've been lucky over the last, say, at least 12 years, since 2014 effectively, when I first worked on an opener for Guns N' Roses South America. Over the years we've done many openers, and we significantly changed the process within the band. We've explored many different ways to bring those ideas to life. Having gone through a lot of iterations with the band over the years, we've kind of dialed in on an approach that allows us to deliver these openers in a relatively short time frame. We bring in sound design, lighting, momentum, taking the crowd from the walk-in visually, building that anticipation up all the way into this ignition and explosive moment where the band come on. From an idea perspective, the opener for a Guns N' Roses show should feel kinetic, it should feel rock and roll, and it should feel like it brings the band on to a screaming crowd. The band also want to give the fans a show, a visual show as well, and that's where we come in to help bring those ideas to life in a way that make the band look great and also give the fans something that you'd expect if you were going to go and see one of the best bands in the world. One of the most important things that we have to nail when we're developing this is to give it that rock and roll vibe, anti-establishment, tapping into the emotions of being powerful, strong, and doing it your way. Since the way we translate the idea of rock and roll over, bring in this kind of physical structure to the design, but then bring a light show element to that structure. There's a lot of energy that comes out of the design that we create, and that to the crowd should feel like, yes, it ticks the box of what a Guns N' Roses show should look like. Guns N' Roses themselves are more than a band that are just about rock and roll. There are lots of different flavors of song in their catalogue, and we need to find a way of creating those elements, these animation elements, in line with that vibe. It all starts from tour to tour for me with the opener. The opener defines the theme that will be couching all of the songs. So the opener gives us that look, and then we use that in the song transitions. But we also draw from the band's legacy as well. Appetite for Destruction, the poster Robert Williams, and also other elements, the Use Your Illusion vibe elements they weave in occasionally. What we don't want to create is something that doesn't feel rock and roll, doesn't feel novel and fun, and that has a high quality that you'd expect from a world-class band. The most important elements of the opener itself, and especially the Astrolabe, in this one was the concept that this opener would be slightly different from what we did in 25. The difference here came in this idea based around this constantly rising towards a crescendo type sort of feel. We wove in a lot of sounds that related to, say, a helicopter taking off. So this gradual chop 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 of the blades building up, introducing mechanical, digital, synthy sounds in to simulate the whirring that you would get from the beams, the Astrolabe beams turning as fast as they were turning. This sort of electric crackle. And all of this really was purposefully designed so that it would provide contrast to the band's music when the band came on. What you've got in the walk-in, in the build-up to the show opener, versus Slash hitting the first notes of Welcome to the Jungle, should have a very different feel to them. we really want to make sure that what we create is very, very different and separate from what the band come on to musically, so that you get that contrast. It's about providing both a story and a structure and a rise and a dynamic, and then we build in these moments where we pause, then jump into the next section, providing that dynamic of building up into the show, and then pauses, and then another build up to another peak, and then a fall off. Everything has a sort of a glue to it that runs through the entire visual spectrum of everything we create, so that it constantly feels like you're in the Guns N' Roses universe that they created for the fans in the show. It's really important, one, to have ideas that make sense both to the brand and the band, but also that makes sense to the environment that they're being presented in, which is in this case a rock show. Every single shot in that show should look like a Guns N' Roses show. So it's not about the Astrolabe itself, and it's all about the band and making sure that the band are seen in every single shot. So there are notes that if you saw snippets or you saw like something on a reel, you would see something that promoted the fact that this show was high quality, that this show was vibrant, that this show was rock and roll, that it had the notes of the Guns N' Roses logo through it. And that is always something that I'll weave into the creative ideas with the guys, how we make the GNR vibe evident in everything that we create. In early sketches, I sort of keep that in mind. So as I'm exploring shape language, as I'm exploring momentum, as I'm exploring storytelling, I'm extrapolating that out across time in my mind. Because I know there's always these constants. People are always going to arrive, get ready, take their seats, stand in their positions, go and get their beer. There's that anticipation, and then they're going to go into show mode. When people start paying attention to the show, you have the fans looking and filming the action. What you want to sort of like have them film is really that they were there at the Guns N' Roses show at that time. And so that's where we try to weave in the branding. You can take one shot and you'll see the Guns N' Roses brand being stamped onto that visual. That's what we try to do to get into every single piece of creative that we make. So every shot is Guns N' Roses show shot. So how typically Guns N' Roses openers work? In this opener, the Astrolabe opener, we had a walk-in section and was calm and was more the Guns N' Roses logo. So as you walked into the show, Guns N' Roses logo up on the screen, but it's also in this Astrolabe environment. And then it went into a shift and it changed from the Guns N' Roses logo to an Astrolabe logo. So what was interesting and cool about this particular opener is that it started in one state and then moved into another, and it was getting show ready all the way through to the 20 minutes before the show, where the whole opener like lit up and really changed and started to spin. What we wanted to do with this Astrolabe opener is change the story across time until showtime, and the band know they're getting ready. Slash is ready and he's just in position. Axl's in position, Duff, the whole band, they're in position. Everyone's looking, the sound team are ready, the lighting team are ready, stage team are ready, the band are ready. Everyone's coming out at the same time and the show goes. And then the most important part of that, which has been a mainstay since the 90s, is the McBob intro. Rather than McBob having to decide where he comes in with his opener, we recorded him in several states and then used one to bring out the band. So that's the cue for band to begin moving towards the stage.
Please welcome a band that needs no introduction, but fucking gets one anyway. Guns and Roses!
Most bands don't really have the kind of openers that Guns N' Roses have.
Guns